Hey everyone, Jason here, digital marketing consultant, and in this time blocking video, we're going to be looking at how to use Google Calendar to organize your days and of course plan out your week. Timestamp table of contents in the description along with some other helpful videos to help you get started with time blocking. So before we dive into Google Calendar and I walk you through how to use it to set up your time blocks, let's talk about number one, the 3 keys to success of time blocking, and then what the heck time blocking actually is. So the first key to success when it comes to time blocking is starting small. When you're just getting started with this strategy, it's very easy to jump into Google Calendar and then try and plan out every minute of your day. That's not what time blocking is about, and it's actually a recipe for disaster because you're probably not quite sure how long things are going to take. So start off by just doing 1 day a week or just doing the first part of your day, leaving plenty of room, which is the second key to success. You want to make sure that you don't actually time block every single minute of every single day, even if you've been doing time blocking for a while. And finally, the third key to success as we dive in here is to focus on extending the time of your time block. So we want to reduce switching as much as possible to improve our productivity. There's been a tremendous amount of research showing that the more you switch between tasks or multitask, the less processing power you're actually able to tap into with your brain because it's busy trying to catch up with all the different tasks. So the longer your time blocks, the better. Now, all time blocking is just a simple time management strategy for planning out when you're going to do something. That's pretty much as complicated as it gets. So let's go ahead, get practical, and talk about the 4 steps to getting started with time blocking and Google Calendar. So the very first step is planning your day frame. So what you want to do is plan out when your workday is going to start and then when your workday is going to end. Now, if you're really OCD, you can plan out when you're going to wake up and go to sleep, but I'll leave all that health stuff for a different video. Here, I'll just focus on work. So for me personally, I'll go ahead and time block 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes at the end of the day to essentially plan the day, make sure that I can check emails and check up on our project manager to make sure that my time blocks for the day make sense and that I adjust the time blocks at the end of the day for the next day based upon how the day's gone. So this is definitely not something that should be set in stone. So let's go ahead, jump into my screen here. You're already looking at an example of what my next week might look like, and you'll see there's a lot of room here. Again, time blocking using Google Calendar is about giving yourself a frame. So I'm going to go ahead and start from scratch. So let's say I'm gonna hit the desk at 7 a.m. So I'll scroll here and I'll just type in day plan, and then I'll go into the event and I'll change it so that it repeats because I want it to repeat pretty much every weekday, Monday through Friday. Something you can be to be overly OCD is actually make an individual event for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I won't do that for time purposes in this tutorial, but if you have days that are very different, I highly recommend doing that so it's very easy to essentially time block different ways on different days. So here I'm just going to say Monday through Friday, and typically I like to have my time blocks for a month to 3 months. That way it forces me to take a look at whether or not these time blocks are actually working. So I'll go ahead and click done. So 7 to 7:30, and I'll go ahead and click save. And you'll see now I have a day plan the first 30 minutes of the day where I can check emails, check in on the team, and make sure that my time blocks make sense for what I'm doing during the day. Then I'll have a end day, and I'll go ahead and end the day around 5:30. So I'll click on here, and I'll say that it repeats every weekday, and then I'll go ahead and do custom, and I'll say that it'll go for the rest of this quarter, so I'll put it through the end of June and click done. Okay, save. Now I'll speed up the process when I do the other time blocks, but that's essentially how you make sure that it repeats every day of the week or repeats a certain day of the week, and then do it for at least a month or 3 months max, because you do want to check in and make sure that your time blocks are actually working. If you do all time, it'll just keep going forever, right? And you'll see when we get to the pro tip why it's important to have end dates for these things. Now the next question you want to ask yourself is, how much is your time worth? And this is where the time value ladder comes in. And this is going to be particularly important if you're a freelancer, entrepreneur, or business owner. So I'm going to walk through this diagram to show you how the time value ladder works and how you can use this to prioritize your tasks, because it's very important that we prioritize before we start getting into how we're going to use our most valuable resource, our time. So here we have 4 levels: $10 an hour work, 50, 100, and 1,000. So pretty much 10 is anything that's administrative, recurring. Then we have working in your business, working on your business, and then growing your business. So these are three very distinct ways that you can differentiate the types of tasks that you're doing. So here's some concrete examples of what those tasks might look like. For administrative and reoccurring stuff, that's tasks that's required to just keep the business going, like checking emails or maybe checking in on some client accounts or running routine tasks. Then working in your business is anything you're doing to service your clients or students and make sure your products keep running. Creating content and developing business processes, that's working in your business. That's making sure things are more efficient so it doesn't take you as much time. This is when you're working with a team, if you have one, and you're delegating tasks to other people so there's less on your plate, so you have more time to work on the growing your business tasks, which are the converting new customers, bringing new business in the door, which is ultimately your job as an entrepreneur or freelancer. So what you want to do is take about 10 to 15 minutes and take a look at this value ladder and then assign all of your tasks to one of these levels. And then once you have that, you'll have a clear picture of the kind of stuff you're working on. Now, if you're thinking about which project you could start on, you can add those too. But typically you're going to be looking at what are the kind of monthly and weekly things that I'm doing over and over again. We want to prioritize them. And then here's the hardest part. Choose one that is going to be your priority for the day. And this comes out of one of my favorite business books, one that I constantly read, which is why it looks so dirty. And that is The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Pappson. So Gary Keller built one of the largest real estate companies here in the US. And so I really like this book because it's based on someone who actually did build a business. They didn't just make a career out of making business books. So highly recommended. But essentially what you want to do is take a look at everything you've listed out in your value ladder, and you want to identify what is the one thing that you could do each day that by doing it is going to make everything else easier. And so this may be trying to have more sales calls. This may be creating more content. This might actually be going out and hiring someone to take care of some of the other tasks. Whatever it might be, there's most likely one thing, well, not most likely, there's definitely one thing you can do that's going to give you a lot of leverage in everything else you need to get done. So I highly recommend picking up a copy of this book. Now, the example I have for you in this particular video is going to be making YouTube content, because obviously for me, growing a YouTube channel, it's very important that I keep producing videos. So Monday through Thursday, my priority, first thing when I wake up, will be creating YouTube content. Now, if your energy levels are higher in the afternoon or the evening or at night, then that's probably where you want to put your most important task. For me, I need to get it done first thing in the morning. So we'll go back over to Google Calendar, and now I'm going to schedule from 8 to, let's say, 11. I am going to do my YouTube videos. And of course, I'm OCD, so I have a very contrived way of keeping track of what I'm actually doing with my YouTube videos. So I'll go ahead and put in my job codes for the YouTube videos that I'm going to be working on, and then put in the code for the video. So I would do this for Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So each day I am working on YouTube videos, and I know that I have that time blocked out. And of course, I'd set it up as a reoccurring task, so I know that I'm working on my YouTube videos. The next part of this process is scheduling your office hours. So at this point, you've come up with your day plan. So you've given yourself time at the beginning and the end of the day. You have a definite start and end date to your day, which is extremely important as a freelancer, business owner, or entrepreneur, especially if you're working from home like myself. And then you've scheduled your big one thing. And this is all you need to do when you're just starting with time blocking. In fact, this is probably overkill when you're just getting started with time blocking. I'd actually recommend just time blocking on a Monday or Tuesday, and then letting the rest of the week kind of flow free. But with your office hours, what you want to do is plan the time of the day you're actually going to open yourself up to the world. So before we go back to Google Calendar, let's take a look at our diagram again. So we have the first part of the day already scheduled. And then the next part you want to schedule is, of course, when you're going to be checking emails and when you're going to be open for calls if you have clients. So here I have emails and onboarding and ad management added, and these are times during the day where I know if a client has a question or we need to schedule a phone call, I've already planned ahead of time that this is when I am available to take those calls. And this does two things. Number one, it allows you to 100% focus in the morning or the evening or the afternoon, whenever you schedule to do one thing, because you know you already have time when you're going to check your email, when you're going to check in with your team, or when clients can actually get a hold of you, right? And if you find that your open office hours aren't working or you need to reply to emails faster, then that just tells you how you need to adjust your time blocks so that you're able to really focus on your one thing and still have time for all of the other questions and concerns of the people in your life. Now, that's all it takes to time block with Google Calendar. So going back to my time blocks here, I'll go ahead and put on my real calendar so you can see what my actual live calendar looks like. So you can see here that this goes on and on and on because this is something just my templated day. Now, I have a quick pro tip for you before we wrap up this tutorial, and that is the power of Google Calendar actually allows you to fill in what actually happened. So what's really great is using Google Calendar, you have your ideal week, like you've seen mine, and obviously you're going to come up with yours, but obviously it's not going to be exactly what you planned out. So what happens when things change or things get different? Something takes longer or shorter. Well, what you'll want to do is take a look at your calendar as you go through the week and adjust it. So here's the current week's calendar right now, and you can see that I am currently recording S35, this tutorial right now. But you can see there are a lot of extra time blocks on here that aren't actually a part of my templated week. And that's just because you want to template and time the most important stuff and then leave room for everything else. You start with what's most important, you're planning your one thing, then you know when you're approximately going to check your emails and have office hours, and then you fill in the rest of your calendar with other tasks as they come up, if you have to do that in real time, or other projects as you see fit. So that's all there is to it, to scheduling with Google Calendar and using the power of time blocking to make sure that you can track how your time goes so you can make improvements in the future. So I'm curious if you would add anything to this tutorial and any tips you have as you've tried to use Google Calendar for time blocking. Comment below with those because your experiences is going to help other people figure out how to time block with Google Calendar. So go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe for more productivity videos just like this one, and until the next video, keep building the business you love.